name is Elyse Wild, and you are listening to women's lifestyle magazine, Inspired Voices. Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Inspired Voices. Today we speak with Denavvia Mojet, who is a legal compliance manager for a Michigan-based medical marijuana company and a single mom. Denavvia and I discuss how she and her son are adjusting to the change, as well as ways in which she keeps him apprised of what's going on with the coronavirus and the pandemic, and why it's important for them to stay at home and stay safe. Denavvia and I talk about how now the pressures of motherhood and the pressures of performing well at work are now taking place at the same time in the same place. So we had a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'm sure many of you can relate.
My name is Denavvia Mojet. I am a legal compliance manager and corporate impact strategist for a company that provides medical marijuana for people all over the state of Michigan. I'm also the executive director of a nonprofit called the Black and Brown Cannabis Guild. And as of late, I have been working entirely remotely from my house. It's been pretty great for the most part. It's challenging. I'm also a mom. So my newest coworker is 3 years old, and we aren't always the most productive, but it's been nice, I think, in the grand scheme of things, to not feel like so many other people that my job is necessarily in jeopardy. I think that's a blessing. So I try not to complain too much. Working from home is challenging, but I think that there are other challenges that people are facing and being dealt with right now because of this pandemic that I'm grateful not to be dealing with. So.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been personally trying to be really cognizant of is, even though I'm undergoing changes working from home, as you said,
Yeah.
as are you, but the struggle right now is really relative. Some people are not able to work at all. Some people are concerned about accessing food. So being conscious of our own situations, although they may cause anxiety within us, acknowledging that it's relative and that there's a wide variety of experiences that are occurring right now in people in our community. And so the reason that I wanted to talk to you and kind of bring your voice into our podcast is because you are a single mom.
Yes.
And like you said, you now have a 3-year-old coworker.
I do.
Tell me a little bit more about that. How's that going? How is it going working from home with a 3-year-old?
Yeah, so I've lived in Grand Rapids for years. I had my son here. I moved here for school to go to Grand Valley. I'm a Laker, proud Laker. Plus side is that I built an incredible village here professionally, but I have no family here. So being a single mom here can be challenging at times. About a week ago, I got a call from my son's preschool. Obviously, my schedule is largely dependent on his ability to be in school and to be be somewhere that I know he's safe and learning. And he just got in preschool enrolled last November. So we were really excited because it freed me up to work full time in this role, not just as a consultant, but in-house with my company. And so I got a call last week saying that his school is closed indefinitely. And without preschool, my 3-year-old is working from home with me. I also found out that his daycare is closed as well. He had a daycare that he was going to 1 day a week, but that's closed as well. And so I've just been keeping Braden home. We've had a lot of fun. We've been adjusting. I knew when I thought through my schedule last weekend that it was going to be a transition. I started to look around my house and wonder, what was he going to do all day? And I got some sanitizer and I got some Lysol and I drove to Target and I started purchasing workbooks, flashcards, Play-Doh, a lot of things that I had started to throw away because I was spring cleaning and purging.
Okay.
And after Christmas, it always just seems like we have so many toys. So I had just thrown a bunch of stuff away. But I immediately started to rethink that. So from Sunday, buying all these workbooks and activity pages and things for him to do, to Monday waking up and saying, okay, I have emails to reply to, I have work to do, and you need to get to work too. He started working on his animals and his shapes. He's been coloring. He's been playing with his Play-Doh. I've been challenging him to sculpt his letters for me, and just find new creative ways to engage him while I'm working. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I have to completely abandon whatever I'm working on so that we can play the matching game together with our cards and of our farm animals. And it can be work. Absolutely. It has been more work. I recognize now that going to work every day is not the challenging part. Managing work and staying home with a 3-year-old coworker is the challenging part for sure. Um,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That this is a challenge, like as
oh,
opposed to
absolutely.
what we're used to. But I like that you just said that you're trying to align your work with his work as a toddler. As
Absolutely.
in, like, this is what you're learning today. We're gonna, now work starts right now. That's
Yep.
that's cool that you, and I'm sure he,
Yeah.
has some moments in the day where he enjoys like working alongside you. That's really neat.
Well, he's 3, so he requires a lot of attention. So even when he's doing his work, 90% of the time he's like, "Mom, are you watching me? Look, I'm done. Look at my letter P. Are you proud? Look, it's so good." And like, so even while I'm working, I don't completely get the luxury of going too deep into the whatever project I'm working on because I'm always still in mom mode. Um, and he has lots of questions, and it's like, "Oops, mom, I dropped my marker, can you reach it please, and like, can you hand me my crayon," or whatever it is. So it's a different work environment completely. I don't think it's worked entirely to keep me as productive as I was, but I make up for it after he goes to sleep. I'm working again, and I think that that has helped me make sure the things we need to work on as a team for work uh, uh, continue to progress. I think the pandemic has affected our industry in unique ways, and those things I can feel from our legal department, from our outreach department, and uh, I've worked to do my best to be a part of the solutions for.
Now, so when we were discussing before we started recording, you expressed that your company has some key members that are really supportive of your role as a single mom. Can you talk a little bit about how that has been helpful in the current situation?
Oh, absolutely. So I've learned that it's really great to have allies, especially allies who don't look or think sometimes like you. And I have the luxury of having a really awesome supervisor and boss who is actually a white man who just does a great job sometimes of reminding the rest of the team of the importance of our ability to have work-life balance,
Mm-hmm.
and is constantly making sure that we're protective of our role as parents in light of all the things that our company needs from us. And I think that that has made this transition to working from home, working remotely, so much more smooth. We do a great job of communicating. We've gotten really unique about how we make sure we're on top of things. If we send an email, we shoot a text out to let the other person know, like, "Hey, I sent you this email in case you're not looking at your email. Just know this is what we're working on." And if we don't get a reply until 10 o'clock, "Oh, I'm coaching right now," or, "Hey, I'm working on reading Very Hungry Caterpillar for the 13th time." Like, no one gets upset, or no one gets, too into their deadline or their timeline. We're just cognizant of each other's situation, and I think he does a great job of not always making sure I'm in a position where I have to say that. Sometimes I think as a single Black mom, my fear and my reluctance and my hesitance to say, "Oh wait, I have my son," is because of the stigma of single Black moms not being the best employees because we don't have childcare. And so I always have anxiety and fear around placing those boundaries around my son to my coworkers and to my colleagues. And I love that I'm not in that position very often because I can whisper it to my boss and he will say, "Hey team, let's not do this. Let's do it this way." Or, "Hey Denavvia, go ahead and hop off the call. If you need to go do something else, no worries." And I think that that makes it a situation that allows me to thrive. I can be appreciated for what I bring to the table. I can do the work I need to do, but I also feel like the entirety of my circumstances is considered, but not held against me. And that is so rare, I think, sometimes in
Mm-hmm.
corporate and in professional jobs. But luckily, we also have location as incentive to be flexible remote employees. My coworker is in another state primarily, and I think that that makes it easier to be strong in communication and consider our circumstance as well. He's in a different time zone, and in corporate, we have to remember that it's not his same time here as it is there, right? And we're constantly making sure we can accommodate each other. So I love it. I think it has made all the difference for me in this pandemic, being able to center my son when I need to, because he's 3. He's not going to sit and do workbooks independently for 8 hours all day. I have to stop and we have to do things together. We have to cook breakfast together and lunch and dinner. And even if I say go take a nap, that's usually a process, right? He'll say, Mom, can you pat my back? Or can you rub my back like Miss Mo does? And then I have to come rub his back like his teacher does. So
Yeah,
uh,
he's still
it's a
very
different
much
situation.
needs you to facilitate his day, like whatever part of the day is
Absolutely.
going on. He's still
Parenting is a full engagement activity. It's not, it rarely turns into something where you can just disengage,
yeah.
especially with a child that's small, because he has lots of great ideas, as he says all the time. He's like, Mom, I have a great idea, but all of them aren't great ideas. And so you have to parent to make sure that the activities are safe and that the decisions being made are the best.
Mm-hmm. Are you using any particular technology or methodology to work productively from home right now as a single mom?
So yeah, I'm a stickler about my schedule. I'm a stickler about him taking his naps. I'm a stickler about bedtimes, primarily because those are times when I shift back into work mode.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a bit of a stickler about uh, not getting him too much screen time, but finding ways for the screen time that he does have to be academically productive.
Okay.
So we're back using like ABC Mouse, and we're back printing websites or worksheets from different websites that I've seen a lot of parents posting about online, and that's made a world of difference for me. I'm not a teacher. My background is not in early childhood education or child development or anything like that. All I am is a mom who wants my kid to thrive. So I have been taking those workbooks and starting with review, seeing what he knows. The mornings of flashcards are great. Like flashcards in the morning are perfect because it just allows us to review what we know, play games. I let him know if he gets it right, he can have the card in his pile. If he gets it wrong, it stays in my pile. And we can either do that pile over at the end so he can win them back, or then like that's the end of the game and I get to keep those. But I think that has been that method of starting our day with flashcards has helped him realize that we're transitioning from just playing at home to school. And because that's the time when I don't reply to emails, we do breakfast, we clean up, and then we pull out our flashcards. It just transitions us into whatever else we need to do. And then if after flashcards, I say, you did a great job, you can do your worksheets now, and I'll get on my laptop for a little bit. And then we like co-work. I think that's worked really well. Having a schedule is really, really, that even if I didn't have to have a rigid schedule before for him, I have one now. And I think it helps us kind of balance the things I need to do for work with the things we need to do together.
So Braden's 3. He's really little.
Yes.
You have a dialogue with him about what's going on right now. When we were talking before we started recording, you said you're kind of explaining to him that there's some people right now that are getting really sick. And is that something that he is able to understand, or how is he processing that as a toddler?
So I have talked to my son about coronavirus, and I have called it by name, coronavirus, so that he can understand that we're not talking about a cold, we're not talking about a fever, we're not talking about the flu, we're not
So,
talking about chicken pox or pink
which is,
eye or any of the things we've talked about before.
yeah, so cold and flu and chicken pox, that's probably his current understanding of what being sick is. So is that
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's why you're using the actual term for what's happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. So at 3, he's been in daycare and in school long enough to understand being sick. He's had some colds, he's had some fevers, he's had some tummy aches. And once he had pink eye, I think, and he went to my parents' house and his eyes were itchy. But I did tell him, and he's also very good about saying whether or not he needs medicine. He says all the time. He's like, do I need some cough syrup? I sneezed. And I'm like, no, you don't need cough syrup for that. But he's very good at understanding that when you're sick, you take medicine and then you get better. That concept is very clear to him at 3. But finding context for people dying is hard for him. I explained to him that coronavirus is a sickness that people are getting, and that when people are sick, sometimes they touch things and they cough things on things, and you're supposed to cover your mouth so that the germs don't get out and make other people sick. And his response to that was like he loved elbow bumping. That was a great idea to him. He's like, great idea, mommy, elbow bump. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about the rest of this. He's like, let's elbow bump again. I'm like, okay, well, we elbow bumped one more time. Let's finish talking about coronavirus. Okay, let's elbow bump one more time. And I'm like, you get the elbow bump very well. But the other part of this is washing our hands and cleaning off surfaces. And he just kept saying that when he gets sick, he gets better because he's a big boy. And I'm like, yes, when you get sick, you do get better. But some people don't get better. And he's like, oh. I'm like, so that's why we don't want to get coronavirus because we don't know if we'll get better. He's like, we just need medicine. I'm like, yes, you need medicine, but you also need to not get sick. So I think for him, the hard part isn't understanding sickness. The
Mm-hmm.
hard part is understanding death because he's 3.
Yeah.
So to him, being sick is bad because it's not fun. You can't play, you can't do things, right? Your nose runs, and that's just inconvenient for trying to slide down the slide, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he gets sickness as an inconvenience, but I don't think at 3 he can comprehend the gravity of it and the scale of it because he just doesn't process things that way. So for him, he's going through the motions of doing the things I'm asking him to do. Washing your hands with soap, singing a song while you wash, making sure we cover our mouths, making sure we wipe down our surfaces. You know what I mean? We have to Clorox wipe our toys. Like we've done all these things together because of and in the name of coronavirus. But I don't think at 3, for him, it's about life or death. It's about following instructions because mom has asked you to and not being sick. And I think that's just as far as he can allow it to go right now. But I think that that's enough. So I think it's a good enough foundation for his dad and I to feel like Braden gets that he doesn't want to get sick.
Yeah. That's interesting because he does have a current understanding on what being sick looks like in the context of his life, which is like you said, it's inconvenient. Then you can't play, then you can't
Right.
go to school and see your friends. Um, but
Absolutely.
that sounds like a great approach of just like this is instructional. This is what we're doing right now, and perhaps that might open up dialogue with you guys about like, oh, okay, so why is this sick different than other sick? And that, might come down the road as far as conversations go. But
I think a lot of it right now comes up because of the activities he wants to do. Normally, and I think this has been different for us because even when he does stay home, like for Christmas break, we can go out, we can go play. And so every 5 minutes, he's like, oh, I have a great idea, mom. Let's go play at the playground. We can't, son, because we don't want to touch surfaces where germs may be. Oh, okay. Well, we can go to the Children's Museum. Well, we can't. We do have a membership to the Children's Museum still, but we can't go there right now because they're closed. Oh, we can go tomorrow. No, we can't go tomorrow because there are germs there. Oh, can we go to Chuck E. Cheese? No, we can't go to Chuck E. Cheese today. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
these things, I don't think he understands the scale of, but this is why I had to explain it to him that this isn't a normal, we're home for the weekend. This isn't normal, we're home for Christmas break. This is different. We are home on quarantine. And while he does not understand context for quarantine, this is my attempt at trying to give him a piece of it. He understands sickness. He doesn't understand social isolation, quarantine, social distancing. Those things are foreign to him, but being sick makes sense. And so that's all I've been able to really get him to like kind of adapt to and like process because the rest is just really complicated for a 3-year-old.
yeah, and it's complicated for a 3-year-old. It's really complicated for all of us, and
Yeah.
it's great that you're meeting him where he's at. And as someone who doesn't have kids, it to me it sounds like it would be nice to put it in those terms. Like that would be comforting to me to have to explain it to a child. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like just to be able to think of it in those terms, to be like, okay, how can I help this child understand? But to think of it in that way would comfort myself too.
Well, you know what they say, like if you want to know if you know something, you teach it. And
Yeah.
so after spending all my nerdy type A linear minded time getting updates from the governor and then being like, I probably need to go check some international news to see how the countries are that are further along in this. And then going back and reading all the stories on Italy and then going back and reading all the stories on China and then working through what states are hit where and like where testing is and things like that. Uh, disconnecting from all of that so that I could sit on the floor and explain it to Braden made it very simple because to him, it's not about the number of cases, is it spread or flattening the curve. It's so simple to him. People are getting sick because they touch things and we have to stop touching things. Like, it's just so simple. And I think that is just like, And he doesn't say like, well, he doesn't ask all these questions about like, oh, well, what are they doing about the virus? And he's just like, okay. And then it's over. It's not complicated to him. in his mind, he has a full grasp of the situation because mommy just explained it.
I love that.
People cough, people are sick, and they touch things. And you don't want to be sick. And so we got to stop touching things.
Yeah.
The end of the story. And
Okay,
so that is very refreshing.
that does sound really refreshing. So, to not have someone that's like, what's the coronavirus update for today? Like,
Yes.
you
How
know,
bad is it? How many possible cases are there? How many are confirmed? And what states are on lockdown? And what level are we at in quarantine? Braden has none of those questions.
mhm.
Braden is just like grateful that someone told him that people are sick and that we can avoid getting sick if we wash our hands. He's
Yeah,
like, cool, thanks, good to know.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Exactly, exactly.
That's so sweet. So this is a two-part question. What is the biggest struggle right now? And then on the flip side of that, what are those positive aspects of working from home, and what kind of moments have you guys had together as mother and son that you might not have had you not been in this 24/7 at home together?
Yeah, so the most challenging part for me, well, that's really hard. I think so the most challenging part for me is dealing with the pressure to still produce at the same level that I did when I was in the office every day. I am very self-conscious about whether or not I'm being valued or whether or not I'm delivering for people, and that pressure gets to me.
Mhm.
So that even if it's not other people necessarily blowing me up saying you're not getting things done, I'm doing that to myself mentally.
Yep.
And then
I
there's
think
also
we all
this
are.
guilt. I think every time I drop the ball on something as a mom, parental guilt just starts to hover over you.
Mhm.
So those two are new. And it comes from days of social isolation. If I let my child have popcorn and applesauce, I am a horrible human. If my son watches two movies back to back, dear God, he's had so much screen time. And like, even if I don't feel like getting up and cooking, but I know that he needs a balanced meal and I have to do X, Y, Z, the guilt of giving myself grace in the parenting department. Uh, that's really hard. That's really challenging. And I know a lot of parents are dealing with it. I saw someone post recently that they let their child have cake for dinner because they just like, this is where we are. It's a pandemic, uh, and it's not a matter of. I think for me, there are families that are struggling with food, and there are resources where they can go and find food. But for me, it's guilt that there's food in the cabinet, and I'm too busy in the middle of this program outline to go like cook it, and knowing that my 3-year-old will give me grace if I just give him some yogurt, right? That guilt is really hard to deal with, and that's new. So I try to hold myself to this
Mhm.
impossible standard of being like the world's best mom, homeschool teacher, most productive compliance manager who can roll out new programs from her couch, which is just like there's only so many hours in a day, and I have on pajamas, so I don't even feel like working that hard. Like it's just very challenging. So that's the biggest challenge. But I think the best part of all this has really just been Braden's a mama's boy, and we have such a good time together. He makes me really happy. I get to watch him learn and figure things out. Um, I'm not the most patient person, as I know I shouldn't be a teacher, but I love that every day when we work together, I'm watching him grasp new things. I think for any mom, even if your child's not 3, you can remember when your child is really tiny, when they first learn their first words or they start walking, you just get so proud of them because their progress, is beautiful. Uh, my son's progress is so exciting to me. Him getting better at writing his name is really, really cool. I just get so proud of him. And I think he feels that too. And I think that that's why it's so fun because he'll be like, Mom, give me a hug. We're doing a good job today. And I'm like, yes, we are. And it's really him watching me cheesing at him for making a really great end. But it's just, I love those moments as a mom. I realize I miss them more because he has a teacher who does that stuff with
Yeah,
him. But getting those moments back is priceless. I get to watch my baby learn, and I get to watch my baby show how smart he is and how capable he is. And I get to let him know that I expect him to do well and that I'm really proud of him when he does. And I think those are the types of seeds that you plant in your relationship that you just don't really get to in other ways. So that's been really, really cool. I'm really grateful for a really great kid, and for in the craziness of quarantine, all of his giggles and laughs all day about how funny everything is. We get bored together. I set up a photo backdrop in our living room and decided we were going to do photo shoots. We have the little remote controls. We can take pictures of ourselves with a tripod. And literally every time we do this, every couple months, he's like, my turn, give me the remote control. And then he pushes the button and he just cracks up laughing when the flash goes off because he thinks it's a hilarious thing. So there's just usually this section of every photo shoot where Braden's just like laughing and holding the remote. So it's fun.
That's awesome. Denavvia, is there anything else that you want to say about being a working single mother, or any advice that you have for people who might be in your position and kind of struggling right now with feeling okay with what's going on?
So I've just been telling people reach out, even when it's awkward, even when it's uncomfortable, even if you wouldn't normally do it. These aren't normal circumstances. We all get a pass. And
Great
you can
advice.
reach out to your friends. You can reach out to people you haven't spoken to in a while. We are expecting those calls. We're waiting for those calls. It's okay to check on your other single mom friends, your girlfriends, folks that you haven't spoken to, old coworkers, because right now, the thing about social isolation is it hits everyone differently. So while some people are enjoying their time with their families, there are people who don't feel like they have a village. They don't have a bunch of text groups where they can post memes and laugh. And this is the perfect time to invest in having the courage to reach out. I think sometimes people feel like if they post on social media, they've done enough. When sometimes you have to send a text. Sometimes it's okay to pick up the phone and make a phone call. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm calling someone who's in their 70s because I'm afraid they're going to get corona. Instead, it can literally just be, I'm just calling to talk to people. I know that sounds weird because we're in a society where, you know, we don't want to hassle anybody, we don't want to bother anybody, and we don't want to give light to where we feel like we don't have enough at our fingertips. But this is the time, in my opinion, where even if there's food in your cabinet and even if there's gas in your car and clothes on your back, it's totally okay to say, I'm an extrovert and I'm not okay, right? Like, where are my friends? Where are people? What are you guys doing? Because this is just a time when we should be leaning on each other without feeling guilt. And even if it's guilt that you feel, I think what helps swell that guilt is knowing that other people are feeling it. I know that that's been a huge help to me. It sounds so small, but I appreciate people that post on Facebook that they gave their child cake. I'm like, oh my gosh, there are more of us, and we have to stick together because we're not teachers. So I love that, and I encourage people to do that, to write things down, to take time for themselves, to practice self-care, and to be unapologetic about needing the support of other people, even when it's not tangible resources that we need, but sometimes just adult conversation. So yeah, I'm going to encourage people to do that and say, if you are one of my friends and I haven't heard from you, feel free to text or call me or FaceTime me as long as I can be in my pajamas, because I am happy to touch base while I'm sending emails and like combing through my hair, because I think that's a part of the way that we should be there for each other right now.
That's such great advice. Absolutely. Where can people find you or follow you on social media?
Oh my gosh. So I am on Facebook as my name, Denavvia Mojet, and I'm always accepting new friends. And a lot of my posts are public. But I also encourage people to follow me on Instagram. It's at Denavvia Mojet, or on Twitter at Miss Mojet. And it's just me posting pictures of Braden primarily. I have a website. It's www.denavviamojet.com. And I'm hoping that by the end of April, I have my blog up and running. And I would love folks to follow it and give me feedback, and it's just my attempt at an open conversation about life as a single mom, as a woman in 2020, and as an American, and so many other things that I think people can relate to. It's nothing super formal and nothing super crazy, but it's just a new outlet to be expressive. And I encourage people to join me there, because I hope to continue to make that a place where I not only talk about my journey through nonprofit in the cannabis industry as a professional in corporate America, and the ways that our culture affects us, and then also as a woman just navigating things like dating and motherhood in a city like Grand Rapids. So yeah, that's kind of where people can connect with me, and if they have any other ideas, I always encourage people to just Google me and reach out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Navia. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing your experience and your insight with everybody. And I know that it is going to provide comfort to everybody that is at home right now, whether they have children or not. We're all experiencing something very new right now. So
Absolutely.
thanks for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. We're going to continue to put these podcasts out on a regular basis, bringing you interviews with women in the community who are rising to the occasion and doing extraordinary things to help right now in this time of crisis, as well as women who are just adjusting to the new normal, whatever that looks like, as well as insights from experts on what we can expect as COVID-19 continues to impact our lives and our community. To get connected with us, please visit www.womenslifestyle.com and sign up for our newsletter. Keep an eye on this Facebook page for more podcasts to come.